To round out the summons of the Druid, we have 3 skills that function completely differently from most other summons, and heck, most other skills for that matter, that also interestingly enough got a significant boost to their utility with the release of 2.4. Though first, let's knock out what each of them do that's, well, normal, starting with Spirit Wolves that shifted from physical to cold damage and even got the associated chill in 2.4, and with the right amount of levels you can summon up to 5 of these doggos at a time, which makes up a little bit for their lack of individual damage, but overall they're just a nice addition for their non-physical damage, which is something that dedicated summoners will lack, and they're good extra bodies if you're pumping them with plus skills such as an Elementalist or even more of a Fireclaw oriented Druid. After that, we have the slightly bigger and tougher Direwolves, which are limited to 3 at a time, but do a good bit more damage and are tankier than their spiritual counterparts. And while not a new feature to 2.4, Direwolves also have the distinction of being a corpse-consuming summon. Not in that they need it to exist, but rather, if there's a corpse nearby, they will consume it to give themselves rage, which is basically a 100% damage buff that lasts for about 20 seconds. So while they still won't be much help for dealing with Neelathak, they can be helpful for dealing with things like Fallen, Flares, and even Undead to keep them from being revived. Third is the Grizzly Bear, which sits in a position of being stronger than golems, but not quite up to the mark of valkyries or shadows. They're also the most popular of the 3 main druid summons to be maxed thanks to their reasonable damage due to a combined scaling base damage as well as scaling percent damage boost. Combine this with their unblockable but slower Bear Smite that they use about half the time instead of a normal attack, and you have a pretty tanky and useful sidekick. Now, for most skills, that would be all you need to know about them, but druid summons have a number of interesting factors that distinguish them from other summons, such as bears and wolves reaching 85% resist all at level 18, making them exceptionally tanky, as well as some standard stuff such as being able to open doors and having a standard 15 frame delay between actions, and their newfound ability to be able to have all 3 flavors out simultaneously, which helps out their usefulness compared to the necromancer a ton. But what really sets them apart from summons and other skills is how they react to plus skills, most notably in relation to each other. Spirit Wolves, Direwolves, and the Grizzly act as masteries, not synergies, meaning that the plus skills you get from gear contribute to the bonuses they provide each other. So you don't need to worry about what the base level is like you normally do with, say, the synergies between Fireball and Firebolt, but instead treat each of the summons like how you treat the interaction between Fireball and Fire Mastery, where plus skills go many miles further than with normal interactions. This is why the popularity of druid summons, even as 1-point wonders, has increased significantly with the release of 2.4, since now instead of just having all this work on your bear, which was the most popular combat summon prior, you have it working on all 3 core summons and impacting the field. Is it overpowered? No. Is it nice to have? Abso-freaking-lutely. So do you actively invest in your druid summons, or do you prefer having those spare points for your core skills? Mention it down below, and as always, a special thanks to the active supporters that help keep the lights on.